Most women are tired, not because life is impossible, but because they are carrying too much that was never theirs to hold. They keep explaining, keep fixing, keep chasing peace from people who only bring confusion. But listen closely, because this may change the way you see your whole life. The moment a woman stops pouring all her energy into noise and turns that energy back toward herself, everything starts shifting. Her face changes, her presence changes, her choices become sharper. She stops running after what ignores her, and somehow what mattered begins to move closer on its own. That is not luck. That is power. Silent power. The kind that does not need to announce itself. The kind that enters a room and changes the air without speaking. Stay with me, because this is where most people miss the truth. Silence is not weakness. Pulling back is not losing. Focusing on yourself is not selfish. It is often the first real sign that you are waking up. And once a woman learns how to protect her peace, guard her energy, and stop reacting to everything that tries to pull her down, life begins to fall into place in ways she never forced. Not because the world suddenly became kinder, but because she finally became aligned with herself. And that changes everything. There is a huge misunderstanding about silence. Many people think that if you are quiet, you have no power. They think loud people are strong and calm people are weak. But real strength does not always speak first. Real strength often sits still. It watches, it understands, it chooses. When you stop reacting to every little thing, you begin to master something rare. You begin to master your own energy. Think about how many times people try to pull you into their storm. They test your patience. They throw words at you. They try to provoke emotion. They want your reaction because your reaction gives them access to your peace. The second you lose control and get dragged into their chaos, you are no longer leading the moment. The moment is leading you. That is why silence can be so powerful. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you know everything does not deserve your voice. You know some battles are too small for your spirit. You know some arguments only exist to drain you. And when you refuse to enter that space, people feel it. They notice that they cannot shake you the way they used to. They cannot control the mood of your day. They cannot pull you into circles that go nowhere. And that unsettles them, because calmness in a world of drama is a form of authority that cannot be faked. When you stay silent in the right moments, you send a message without speaking. You say, I know who I am. I do not need to prove it here. I do not need to explain my value to someone committed to misunderstanding me. I do not need to defend my peace to people who enjoy disturbing it. That kind of silence is not passive. It is active. It is a decision. It is discipline. It is inner control. And this is where it gets deeper. So do not skip this part. Silence does something arguments often cannot do. It holds up a mirror. When you stop responding, people are left alone with their own behavior. There is no fight to hide behind. No loud exchange to distract from the truth. Just their actions hanging in the air, clear and exposed. They begin to wonder why you are not replying, why you are so calm, why their words did not reach you the way they expected. In those moments, your silence becomes more powerful than any perfect speech you could have given. Words can be twisted, explanations can be ignored, but silence lingers. Silence makes people sit with themselves. It creates a weight in the room. It invites truth to rise. And often, that truth is far more uncomfortable for them than anything you could have said. This is why silence, when chosen with wisdom, protects you while revealing everything around you. But silence is not about shrinking yourself. It is not about fear. It is not about holding pain inside until it hardens. It is about knowing the difference between expression and waste. It is about using your voice with purpose instead of spending it everywhere. A strong woman does not answer every attack. She does not rush to defend her crown every time someone questions it. She understands timing. She understands value. She understands that words become heavier when they are not thrown around carelessly. When you speak less, people listen more closely. When you choose your moments well, your voice carries force. And when you remain silent in moments that do not deserve you, you keep your power where it belongs. This is also how silence protects your energy. Every argument you avoid saves strength. Every moment you do not react gives you more room to think clearly. Every time you refuse to entertain foolishness, you keep your mind clean and your spirit steady. And that preserved energy can go somewhere better, into your healing, into your work, into your body, into your dreams, into the life you keep saying you want. This is why silence is not emptiness. It is storage. It is strength being kept for something greater. And the woman who learns this stops being easily shaken. She becomes harder to disturb, harder to manipulate, harder to read in the wrong ways. She becomes grounded. And once a woman becomes grounded, she moves through the world differently. For a long time, many women are taught to make everyone else the center. Be available, be understanding, be the one who gives more, be the one who holds everything together, care more, sacrifice more, stay longer, fix more. And yes, care is beautiful, nurturing is beautiful, love is beautiful. But when these qualities are given without balance, they become chains. You start forgetting yourself while trying to save everyone else. You solve their problems and neglect your own heart. You carry their emotions and ignore your own exhaustion. You keep giving, hoping one day someone will return what you poured out. But often what comes back is emptiness. What comes back is being overlooked. What comes back is deep tiredness that no sleep can fix. That is the moment when a woman has to stop and ask herself a hard question. What about me? What about my peace? What about my healing? What about the parts of me I abandoned while trying to be enough for everyone else? This question is not selfish, it is necessary. Because the truth is simple. If you are not centered within yourself, no amount of giving will make you feel full. You will still feel drained. You will still feel unseen. You will still feel like something is missing. And what is missing is you, the version of you that needs your attention, your care, your loyalty, your love. The turning point begins when you finally decide to come back to yourself. The moment you shift your focus inward, things begin to change. Not all at once, not with fireworks, but slowly, clearly, and powerfully. You begin to ask different questions. What do I need right now? What gives me peace? What has been draining me? What kind of life am I building with the energy I spend every day? Those questions start waking you up. And once you begin acting on the answers, your whole reality starts moving in a new direction. You stop living only in response to other people. You stop letting your mood depend on how someone treated you, whether someone texted you, whether someone understood you, whether someone chose you. You begin choosing yourself. And that changes your energy in a way people can feel immediately. A woman with self-respect does not need to beg for attention. A woman with inner confidence does not need to chase constant approval. A woman rooted in herself does not keep proving her worth to people committed to undervaluing her. Her presence starts saying what her mouth no longer needs to say. And here is the beautiful part. The more she builds herself, the less outside chaos controls her. She becomes less reactive, less desperate, less available for confusion, more clear, more peaceful, more strong. This is why focusing on yourself is one of the deepest forms of love, because only from fullness can you truly give without losing your soul. If you are empty inside, even love becomes heavy. But when you are full, your love becomes clean, calm, and powerful. Many women spend years believing that if they keep giving, one day they will be chosen correctly. If they keep being patient, keep over-explaining, keep sacrificing, keep carrying the emotional weight, someone will finally see their value. But life does not always reward over-giving. In many cases, it drains it. What attracts respect is not self-abandonment. What attracts healthy love is not desperation. What creates real opportunities is not constant chasing. It is self-possession. It is dignity. It is emotional steadiness. It is knowing that your worth does not rise or fall based on who notices it. There is something magnetic about a woman who is focused on herself. She is not cold. She is not cruel. She simply knows where her energy belongs. She does not beg for love, but love notices her. She does not compete for attention, yet people remember her. She does not force respect, yet respect begins to surround her. Why? Because people respond to what you believe about yourself. If your actions say, "I am enough," the world starts to read you differently. If your choices say, "My peace matters," the world starts to meet you at that level or lose access to you. And here is the paradox that changes everything. The less you try to control others, the more they begin to adjust. The less you chase what is running from you, the more space life has to bring what truly fits. The less you cling, the more naturally things begin to settle into place. That is not magic. That is alignment in motion. So when you feel the urge to fix someone, pause. When you feel the need to explain yourself one more time, pause. When your heart starts reaching outside of you for answers that should come from within, pause. That pause can save you years of wasted energy. Ask yourself instead, what would happen if I turned all of this effort back toward myself? What if I gave myself the understanding I keep begging others for? What if I gave myself the care I keep offering people who barely return it? What if I use this pain as fuel for my growth instead of proof that I am not enough? This is where your power starts to return. Because the moment you stop trying to rescue everyone around you, you finally have the strength to rebuild yourself. And rebuilding yourself changes the entire atmosphere of your life. You think more clearly. You sleep better. You trust your intuition more. You stop forcing conversations that only leave you hurt. You stop entering spaces where your spirit feels small. You start becoming more protective of what enters your mind, your body, your time, your heart. And little by little, your life becomes cleaner, lighter, sharper. You begin to notice that not every door needs to stay open. Not every person deserves your full access. Not every situation deserves your emotional labor. That awareness is freedom. It is the freedom to stop leaking energy into places that never deserved it. And once you feel that freedom, you will never want to return to the old version of yourself who kept breaking just to keep everyone else comfortable. Silence also changes the way other people experience you. When you stop filling every moment with explanations, people are forced to face the space your quiet creates. And in that space, truth becomes louder. Think about the times you defended yourself quickly. Maybe you thought if you found the right words, they would finally understand. Maybe you believed that if you explained your pain clearly enough, they would become softer, wiser, kinder. But what often happened, they argued harder. They twisted your meaning. They dismissed your feelings. They heard your words, but not your truth. Now think about a different response. You step back. You stop chasing understanding. You let silence enter. Suddenly there is no battle for them to push against. No emotional fire for them to feed on. No speech for them to break apart. There is only the reality of what they did and the absence of your energy. And that absence becomes loud. It makes them question what just happened. It forces them to feel your withdrawal. It reveals what your constant effort used to hide. This is why silence can transform relationships in ways force never can. Not every relationship will survive it. And that is part of the truth. Some connections only function when you overextend yourself. Some people only stay comfortable when you stay small. But the right people, the healthy people, the honest people, they respond differently. They feel your boundaries and respect them. They notice your quiet and become more thoughtful. They sense your self-respect and meet you there. And your silence does not only reveal others, it reveals you to yourself. When you stop reacting instantly, you begin to observe. You see patterns you missed before. You hear the tone behind the words. You notice the cycle, the manipulation, the inconsistency, the emotional trap. You stop being blinded by your need to fix the moment and start seeing the moment for what it really is. Silence sharpens intuition. It gives your nervous system a chance to settle. It creates enough distance for truth to become visible. And that clarity is priceless, because once you clearly see what something is, you stop confusing potential with reality. You stop calling chaos passion. You stop calling inconsistency mystery. You stop calling disrespect a misunderstanding. You stop dressing pain up in beautiful words just so you can stay attached to it. This is a major shift. And if you are still listening, this part matters deeply. A woman becomes much harder to deceive when she becomes comfortable with silence. She does not rush to fill awkward moments. She does not need to control every outcome. She watches, she senses, she lets action speak. And by doing that, she protects herself from illusions. Silence is full of answers if you are brave enough to stay in it. It will show you who values you, who uses you, who respects your boundaries, who only loved your availability, who stands with you, and who only stood near you when you made things easy for them. That truth might sting at first, but it also sets you free. Your energy is one of the most valuable things you have, and too many people spend it like it is endless. They spend it on pointless arguments, on replaying hurt, on trying to change minds that were already closed. They spend it on fear, on chasing closure from those who never planned to give it, on proving themselves in rooms that decided not to see them before they even walked in. And then they wonder why they feel exhausted, not physically tired, but soul tired. A single emotional battle can drain more from you than a whole day of hard work. One disappointing conversation can sit in your body for hours. One moment of disrespect can disturb your peace if you keep carrying it in your mind. This is why learning to guard your energy changes everything. When you choose silence instead of reaction, you are not burying your truth. You are saving your strength. You are saying, this moment does not deserve access to my life force. I will not let this steal from me. I will not spend myself here. And as you keep making that choice, you begin to collect power. You stop leaking it. You stop handing it away. You stop pouring your life into things that cannot grow. That saved energy starts building something inside you. More calm, more discipline, more focus, more direction, more self-trust. It becomes a reservoir. And from that reservoir, you can build a better life, instead of constantly recovering from the damage of a badly used one. Where your energy goes, your life follows. If you keep feeding conflict, conflict grows. If you keep feeding fear, fear expands. If you keep feeding disappointment with your constant attention, disappointment becomes the lens through which you see everything. But if you begin feeding your growth, your peace, your health, your purpose, your confidence, then life begins growing in that direction instead. This is why choosing not to react is not weakness. It is strategy. Every moment you refuse to entertain unnecessary chaos, you make yourself stronger. Every time you walk away from drama, you create room for something better. Every time you choose your peace over proving a point, you invest in your future self. Think about how different your life could feel if you stopped giving your best energy to your worst distractions. Think about what could happen if that energy went into your body, Your goals, your faith, your creativity, your healing, your discipline, your rest. Slowly, you would start to carry yourself differently. People would notice that you are harder to shake, harder to pull off your path, harder to tempt into old habits. They would see less noise and more presence, less reacting and more knowing, less confusion and more direction. And what they are really seeing is a woman who stopped wasting herself, a woman who stopped throwing gold into places that only offer dust. Once that shift happens, your whole life starts looking different. Not overnight, but undeniably. And the peace that grows from that is something no one can fake and no one can easily take. One of the most powerful things that happens when a woman becomes silent and self-focused is this: she stops chasing. For so many years, women are taught to chase approval, chase love, chase clarity, chase attention, chase the answer, chase the apology, chase the version of life they think will finally make them feel complete. But chasing always carries a hidden message. It says something outside of me has the power to make me whole. And the more you chase from that place, the more distant everything feels, because chasing is built on lack. It is built on emotional hunger. But when a woman stops chasing and returns to herself, a new energy enters the room. She is no longer asking life to confirm her worth. She is living from that worth. She is no longer running after what keeps stepping back. She is standing still enough to see what naturally comes forward. That stillness is deeply attractive, not because it is a trick, but because it is whole. It tells the world, I am not empty, so I do not need to beg. I am not lost, so I do not need to cling. I am not powerless, so I do not need to force. And people feel that shift immediately. The less she seeks, the more she is noticed. The less she explains, the more people want to understand her. The less she proves, the more her value becomes obvious. That is the quiet reversal that happens when inner peace replaces emotional chasing. And this shift is not only visible to others, it changes how you feel inside. When you stop chasing, your nervous system starts to soften. You are no longer waiting on messages to decide your mood, no longer desperate for someone to finally choose you correctly, no longer trapped in anxious loops, wondering what you did wrong, what you should say next, how to hold on tighter. You begin to breathe differently. You begin to walk differently. You begin to speak from a steadier place. There is a peace that enters you when you truly understand that what is meant for you does not require you to abandon yourself to keep it. Let that sink in. Read that again in your mind. What is right for you will not ask you to break your spirit just to stay close to it. This is why silence becomes so strong here. When you do not react, when you do not rush to fill the gap, when you do not chase after distance, other people are left to feel the absence of your energy. They begin to notice what your constant presence used to cover. They begin to feel the space you created. And often that space wakes them up. Not always, but often enough to remind you of something important. People value what they can clearly feel, not what endlessly explains itself. That is why your withdrawal from chaos can become louder than your involvement in it. That distance creates perspective, and perspective changes everything. Sometimes for them, always for you.